Dummy Switch Pod. We're back. We're always back.
Yes, sir. Always.
It was supposed to be back to back, but it's a different kind of back to back. It's
no, I need
not
to
the back to back we're
sip.
expecting. Yeah.
Need to swallow that potato that's in the throat. Hey, my man.
Yes, swallowing a bit of pride as well. But I mean, I guess it is what it is. It's like when you're playing FIFA and you lose, and then Ninhaba, I think he's like, no, same teams, let's go again, and it didn't work out for him this time.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's really difficult to speak about this because we expected a better performance, improvement. Instead, things just went backwards. I got reminded of the time when a certain coach was the one that was the head coach. We won't name him because the circumstances of him getting that job was also but yeah, it just, you could see those same players because it's basically the same group. You could almost see that ghost, that ghost of 2016, 2017. It just, it didn't look good. It wasn't good at all.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at it from the beginning, there, Box, there's this Ari that came in, Trev that came in. I think they both did well. I can't sit here and say, anything against them. Ori, line out time. Trevor Scrums, he seemed fine. Tupou was actually Tupou that came in for Australia. He was the one that seemed to be going sideways the whole time. Rev not particularly picking up on that, but if we go into it, like Karevi from the beginning, line break, hitting that gap at the end of the line out.
Yeah, that little vacuum there that they talk about, I found most interesting about this game is Australia were almost playing like us, at 12, that's going to get over the advantage line, and then they play from there with that momentum. And then defensively, just man up, shut us out. And then when the opportunity comes, take the chance.
Yeah, but I think they have more of a heads up style. They have more of a, there's things that Karevi was doing that you'll never see Dialendi doing. There's things, some of those passes in between, two men hanging on to you. There's some of those things that I don't think we have the intensity to play like that, and we don't have like the players that are sort of energized by the ball like that. It's that thing of when you have the ball, you come alive. There's guys in that team that they get the ball, they come alive. Look at Tupou, look at Karevi. Yeah, they come alive. We get the ball, it's lateral. It's not. There's no cutting edge.
Yeah, and I think like for me, the main thing, I'll go back to what I said before that first game against Australia. Where we both said it. We were speculating about the kind of team that they'll put out, and we wanted to see fresh faces. And quite honestly, after the past two weekends, you can argue the case that there should have been some fresh faces. To bring more sort of punch to the attack, because the attack didn't. We can't. Number one, we can't say that we didn't have ball because our backs did get the ball, but didn't use.
But they weren't dynamic on attack.
Yeah, and look, even our wingers, okay, the only thing that looked to be working was the kicking and chasing game. Yeah. Early on, and outside of that, on attack, Mapimpi got the ball. I think this game he touched the ball more than he's touched the ball in recent tests that you can remember. But he really didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, but the point, the issue for me is they give it to him on the touchline with guys, closing in on him. And I don't know. You see, it's like no one wants to cut the line. No one wants to straighten. No one wants to come back. You know what I mean? It's just all sideways and it's just all natural.
No one is putting, how can I say, no one's putting their body on the line, running that, running a different line, running a different angle, to offer themselves up, to try and
go that's why I can't say gaps. I can't Mapimpi and that. I don't know if it's a coaching thing where they've told them you don't cut back inside, but it seems like they're always trying to take width, and that just doesn't work when you're going sideways. So I mean, I can't necessarily fault Nkosi. I think had some defensive reads that were questionable. I think even for the one try, he could have helped Pollard out a bit, but that's Pollard's another story. But so Nkosi, I mean, he did well with the kick chase. But I mean, that backline for me, the main culprit is Willie Leroux. Okay, besides Pollard, it's Willie Leroux.
Yeah, in terms of, I think the thing is, historically, he's always drifted onto that outside gap, But in this game, that outside gap wasn't there. It wasn't for him, His job, whenever in those moments when he got the ball, for me, it looked more like his job was supposed to be straight in the line, straight in the line, and which tells me that before even he got the ball, his work of the ball was not up to par, because if he was working hard off the ball or harder off the ball, he would have been able to pick, where he wanted to go. Instead, from just the way that it just looked like the start of that run, he was already drifting. He was already running towards the touchline.
Yeah, he comes onto the ball, actually, yeah.
Yeah, and, that's ineffective, and it's really, for an international team, especially on attack, because we had so much ball to play with, that's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, at the hour mark, essentially the game was up for grabs. We made our early mistakes. Faf, very questionable behavior. Pollard, he was being naughty. Pollard also, he had the classic scared fly half tackles. He had two of them. First was for the first try, where Ikitau just went straight over him, and then you had it again with twice in a row with first with Tupou, which okay, I can understand, it's Tupou.
Yeah.
Secondly, it rocked him so that when he got up and reloaded, he fell for I think it was Corbetti running the line, and they just played the pass behind him. He landed up on the floor. So I mean, we ended up recovering from those kind of mistakes, and the game was up for grabs. We clawed back in. We got our own questionable yellow card, which I don't think was a yellow card for Swinton. I think that was just rugby collisions. But at that point, we don't have the cutting edge. We don't have that thing. We don't have that thing.
The killer instinct to smell blood and put teams away. We couldn't do that. We couldn't do that. And we spoke about it before, about the championship qualities. The world, basically what separates. This is from the outside looking in and watching, is what's separating the best teams in the world and the rest is that ruthlessness. Is you've made all the mistakes, but at the hour mark you're still in the game. If there's no bigger incentive than that to steal this one, for goodness sake, you're South African, you must rob them, and not saying all South Africans rob, but it was there for the taking.
But why don't we have the cutting edge? If we think about why don't we have the cutting edge, I think there's a dynamism and a dynamic missing in the pack I think part of that is because Dwayne is coming back. I think
Yes.
even the try where there was a scrum and then they reloaded back to the short side and caught us out, the no look from Tupo. If
Super.
you look at that, it was, Dwayne's supposed to be the guy that's marshalling defense.
Yeah.
And when you're those split seconds late, the reset and the reload, they found some props and they exploited them.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that at the same time, Australia had props on that side as well, running, had front rankers with, I think, maybe two backs as well. And that was just, for me, what it looked like, honestly, looking at that particular try where Korobeti scored, it was, for me, just looked like these guys are tired. These guys are, they mentally fatigued, as much as, nobody's questioning the will, and the desire to do well. I mean, for goodness sake, they're representing their country. Nobody's questioning that. But what I'm questioning is, selection. You mentioned that there's dynamic missing in the pack. I feel like the dynamic is also missing in the back line.
But if we stay on the pack, for a minute, sorry.
Yeah.
Is that dynamism, is that dynamic missing because you don't have, we're playing a lock on blindside. So, I mean, if we had, Kwaka playing for longer, if we had Escom playing for longer,
yeah,
these are guys that affect the games. Mustard, I can't say he had a bad game, but did he affect the game in maybe a way that you wanted to? And the physical presence. Okay, he did put in some big hits, but we seemed, Australia are the ones that had the go forward ball.
Yeah,
they're the ones we were losing the physical confrontations.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Is that
I don't know, maybe that's also what leads to the tiredness, because if you've been tackling for 60 minutes.
But I mean, well, the barely tackling them was 20, so so it's just too many questions now, and look, we understand that nobody goes out to intentionally lose the game. That's, it's not cricket. It's not cricket where guys can fix games, in that way. Because, from a physical point of view, I think you like to Australia were the instigators, basically. I think they were physically, they brought it. And you have to give credit to them, not taking anything away from Australia. I think really our heartache comes from the fact that we know that this team can be better and should be playing better.
Yeah.
And I must go back to what you were saying, talking about last week, about are we victims of our conservatism and our sort of our selection criteria, where we're less likely to give new players an opportunity, or fresh players an opportunity. We so embedded in the tried and tested. This is what works for us, and this guy and if you talk about that pack dynamic, you talk about Mustard. There's a Jean-Luc Dupré, who I feel brings a different physical dynamic and also a ball playing element. Love him or hate him, he's got a different sort of dynamic to his game as a blindside flanker. And it's very hard to say why these guys. I mean, there's a lot of guys have been on. They just been on holiday,
Yeah, there's guys. Especially this game was screaming for Evan Roos. I mean, if you look at Visa had his cameo wasn't great at all. I think, especially in a situation where Dwayne Vermeulen isn't playing the best, and we're not seeing the best from him coming back from injury. This is an opportunity for you to to maybe, put your name
Yes.
forward to start. Put your name forward to start. Maybe even short term if it's not long term. Until Dwayne is in form. But you come on and you put on a performance like that. It was screaming for Evan Roos. If we're gonna talk backline, the same thing with Herschel Jantjies. He came on, and is Herschel Jantjies the guy that you want to come on with, 15 minutes left and you're trailing by 13 points? Is he the guy that you want to bring on? Not really.
Yeah.
No. And especially in a situation where he hasn't. Fine, that kind of thing was fine, when he had his breakout moments against the All Blacks and that, but he hasn't been playing. He's not the same player right now.
Yeah, and he's not, and right now he's not on form. Right now, Grant Williams is more on form than I believe Herschel and even the Kobus Reina, and he's pushing Faf pretty close as well. In my view, in terms of if you're looking at recent performances and based on Grant Williams' last game, when he played for the Sharks, that led to him being called up. As a matter of fact, so that's what I'm saying, is that, like, are we going to be victims now of our own policies? Because it's not. Nobody is saying that you must throw the baby out with the bathwater, but no, it's a matter of understanding that here's the fact: is that there's nothing wrong with the game plan. I was looking at it and was thinking about it. I don't believe there's anything wrong with the game plan outside of the fact that it must evolve, yes. But in order for it to evolve, that evolution also needs to come from a personnel perspective. You have to look at the guys and say, okay, who can now take this foundation, and we can build on this foundation, and who can take it forward, And
it seemed like, okay, we're talking about game plan and that as well. We weren't getting the go forward that we normally get from collisions, and let's say I think the mauls as well. We weren't, even the scrums, we weren't getting the go forward that we needed.
Yeah.
So then, plan B.
What's plan
There's
B?
nothing.
Exactly. You see, and what's sad is that in the first half, especially in the first half, in those early moments when we were actually getting some purchase from our line-out drive, we couldn't put them to the sword. We couldn't break their back, because essentially what that did is that fed them confidence in that they could keep us out, And like you say, there's no plan B. If that doesn't work, what's the alternative? What's the variation to how we play? And okay, yes, they gave the ball some air, but with the personnel that you've got, is that the right personnel to switch a game plan from, a sort of a more?
It's not.
It really isn't, and
it's not. I think that a lot of talk about this being the greatest Springbok center pairing, I think it's gone very quiet. A lot of that talk's gone very quiet, and there was a lot of recency bias and being a prisoner to the moment. Because we saw in this game, Dialendi, I think he had a more involved game than But both of them, not in an attacking sense, they're not giving you what you need.
They're really not, and it's going back to your question earlier, is it a coaching thing, or is it just the player? The thing is that I think we know better than to say it's the player, because we've seen those players put in some good attacking performances, you see.
If these guys, it's like they're on a leash, so they're only going to go as far as you give them.
Yeah.
So how much freedom are they being given?
But the other side of it, Kodas, is also the decision making from our halfback period. because there were moments you said heads up, the more Australia's more of a heads up, side. There were moments where we were attacking Australia, we're in the 22, and, we kept on going same side, whereas the actual numbers was on the other side. And, we just didn't, there was no identification of that. I'm not going to put it on and say, oh no, it's the halfbacks, but the guys on the outside, you can say, you can question the system, but then also you have to consider the mental fatigue and things like that. Is that in situations like that, fresher players would be excited to see that, oh, I've got, 3 forwards in front of me, I'm a number 12, the ball must come this side so I can fix these guys and put my guys away in space. An
example of that was Box had a scrum basically under the poles, maybe just shifted a bit one way, and the commentators kept saying, if they go left is the way to go, and Visser breaks right. Now, I don't know. To me, it seemed like a coaching thing. So it's that thing of, are we too rigid? Are these guys just doing, how short is that leash? How short is that leash? Are these guys just doing what they're being told to do, And at the end of the day, you can't fault them. You can't fault them for that, You can fault them for things like, okay, Pollard improved kicking performance, but the tackling, it's inexcusable. Faf, it was inexcusable. So it's like there's things where you can question, and then there's things where you can't.
Yeah, no, rightly so. And at the end of the day, it's this, yes, we understand it's Test rugby and guys don't want to make mistakes or want to limit their errors. But the number of errors that this team has been making, especially, I think more than anything, especially defensively, defense, we all know defense is the hardest part of the game, and that's about attitude, and it just seems like the guys don't. Again, I don't want to say that they don't have the desire. I'm putting it down to the fact that they just look tired. You said it. You touched on it last week. They bored with the plan. It's there's nothing sparking them. Firing them to get up off the line. Because even our line speed, if you watch, our line speed is not. It doesn't have that same fizz that it had, for example, British and Irish Lions. These guys, they look much fresher against the British and Irish Lions than they do now. This time around, this team just looks drained,
Yeah, and they look more mental. They don't look as mentally involved. And I mean, you can see that first 20 when the go forward from Australia is just,
it was rapid.
You're not used to seeing that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, fuck. I was, excuse my French, but I was thinking, I was like the Springboks, putting teams on the come up since 2016. We've been actually since 2015. Japan. We're that team that gives other teams, the come up. And now we basically we did Australia a favor, made Australia look good. In two tests.
But they are good. The first, the first one, I could argue we made them look good. The second one, they showed that they're good.
But I mean, if you're confident, my man, at first they had doubt. Now they don't doubt anymore because they beat the world champions, twice. So I just, for me, that's what makes this so hard to swallow, is that with so much on the line from a pride perspective. Yes, we understand that 2023 is what they're looking at, and I kind of feel like in hindsight, looking at that, it's almost as if like it was a really pre-programmed excuse to say, no, we're looking at 2023. But if you are looking at 2023, then you should have been giving the guys that are sitting in the stands.
Yeah, if you're working to 2023, then some of these guys shouldn't be playing.
Yeah, because for me, it's not so much about the loss; it's about how it happened. It's that's what's bugging me. It's been bugging me is the manner in which they were beaten. you know.
And that thing of okay, same teams, basically same team. Let's go again. You're doubling.
Yeah.
It means you're doubling down. You're doubling down, and you're saying it's gonna work.
Yeah.
You're not trying to be pragmatic. You're not trying to fix things. You're saying, okay, no, nothing is broken. We're not gonna fix anything. We're gonna go again, and we're gonna win this time. And then you get beaten even worse.
Yeah, and that's the scary part, you know. This time, this was a comprehensive beating, you know. If there's ever a comprehensive beating, this was one of them, you know, where we're just nowhere, man. We're just nowhere. It's hard. You can't single out any individual players. It's just I just keep on going back to the fact that, you know, a Jean-Luc Dupré brings a different dynamic. I would have loved to see his raw brutality. You know, those twins, they just brutal, you know, in terms of in the physical
I'm not a fan of that family, but I understand what you mean. You know, I would have even liked to see Kolisi move to 7 and then get Eskom as 6, you know, something like that. We all know I'm a Yanchi's man. We all know Ella is my guy. I would have liked to see something like that.
He should. Yeah, but I think we spoke about it. Young Alton, Fassi, Roscoe. You know, there's energy there because
there's the spark that Colby provides is also, you know, it's gone.
It's gone. There's no, man. You know, it's really, it's really been difficult. You know, you talk about your weekend being ruined, you know, because here you are with high hopes for your team, and your team just says, "Nah, we're not about this. You know, we're not about this greatness."
Yeah, man. Let's talk about, you know, there's been a quick turnaround. We've got the squad out now.
Yeah.
The 5-2 split, they've abandoned it. So there is some, well, you know, there's not much changes in the starting lineup, but it's good. Okay, well, I actually will say I'll give them credit for this. They've moved away from the 5-2 split and they started Kwaka. So those show that they need the dynamism of you know, a loose forward that is a loose forward, and they've recognized that.
Yeah,
you know, it's not working. The only thing is Herschel Yanchis is still on the bench.
Yeah, you see, and for me, I feel like Alton coming into the bench is 2 weeks too late. You know, it's 2 weeks too late. He should have at least been on the bench, maybe first test or even started, and possibly started the second test. You know, just from an attacking point of view. I've never seen Pollard put anybody in a gap, I'm just saying, you know. So, you know, one person that I have seen put players in the gaps is Alton. But then again, Alton does also thrive off front foot ball, you know. So from a front foot ball perspective, you know, who's going to give us that forward momentum, you know, because if you notice in this past game, there weren't many carries from Dwayne, you know, because you can see he is coming back from injury, you know. So I think that's just expecting too much too soon from the guy, as much as we know what he's done in the past, but that's the past. We're talking about right now, you know, and right now he's not quite there yet. And we have to be honest. I think that's my biggest problem, is that there's sort of this resistance to make difficult decisions, you know, and the difficult decisions, these decisions need to be made for the greater good of the team, not because of player X or whatever. This is not about that. This is for us. When we're talking about this, we're talking about the team, you know.
And if you are moving towards 2023, some of these guys aren't gonna make it.
They're not.
Some of these guys aren't gonna make it. But this to me it's an admission of guilt. It's a confession. You know, the fact that they've put Kwaka there, the fact that they've changed the 5-2 split, it's them apologizing. You know, it's a reluctant apology. You know, when you just, okay, fine, you are right. That's what Nina was saying here, is like, it's fine, you are right, by making these changes. But the same, it's a full-hearted apology would have been a change at especially in the backline, because the backline they were flat. But
look, all I'm going to say is this: is that if they don't get a result this weekend against New Zealand, then in that last test against New Zealand, you've got nothing to lose because you've already lost it all. So you have to make those changes. And I really hope that they do get a result this weekend, even though at this present moment, based on the most recent history, it's very difficult to see this team getting a result, because one change in the starting lineup in the pack, that's not all of a sudden going to energize the pack. Let's be honest, in such a short turnaround, I don't know. Yes, stranger things have happened in sport, but
I'm more worried about the backs.
But even the backs, the backs, if they're not up to standard, they're going to get cut apart. They're going to get cut apart, and it's not going to be nice to watch.
It's really 2023 with Franz Steyn on the bench, eh?
No, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. I don't know who's fooling who here. who is fooling who here about this? Because you had Damian Willemse, you're backing. I remember Damian Willemse. I think even one of his better games was actually against the All Blacks at Loftus when he came off the bench. And for me, it's you backed him 2 weeks in a row, and then in the third week now you just dropping him for Francis Steyn, who hasn't. I don't know what difference he's going to make, from an athletic point of view, because this is this New Zealand team that they're going to play. Well, we haven't seen the team that they're going to put out, but it's just dynamic athletes all around, especially in the backs. Like you say, okay, in the forwards, I'm not too worried, but the backs, you're right.
I understand more if Francois Steyn was starting, but
yes, because he'll have more of an immediate impact. I don't see what impact he's going to have coming off the bench. To be fair, unless our plan is, we're going to try to play for long range penalties, and that's how we're going to try and beat these guys on the weekend. I'm not trying to be negative or pessimistic or whatever, but everybody knows to beat the All Blacks, you have to do. There's got to be something different that you do. You can't just do what you normally do. They've been the standard setter for the past 100 years. I mean, even if you look at the stats, it's the 100th test, but they've won more than what we have. And a lot of more of those wins have come in the modern era. So there's something that they've been doing right in the modern era that we haven't been. And I really feel that it's that element of being ruthless enough, to put, if they're really putting egos aside, you're able to make a tough call and say, right, police, we've given you a chance, you haven't been on form.
Yeah, All Blacks they're not scared to pull a fly half off, but that's, guys.
To say, listen, look, we gave you a shot. We're going to go with Alton this weekend, You understand. It's not about you, it's about the team, And that's what it is. Even to say, hey, listen, Mr. Captain, you're tired, you're tired. Just take a break, There's nothing wrong with giving guys a rest, because if you back the guys that you picked in your squad and you've got such a good depth, you're building this depth, you have to trust these guys enough, trust their skill, trust their ability, trust your coaching and your systems enough that the system, So it's one of those things, right? So, I think, look, this weekend, I don't know. This week, with this game against the All Blacks, I just feel sick. I just feel sick. I really do. I really do, man. Imagine if I'm feeling sick, imagine those guys. Are they really up for it? Have they been watching? I know New Zealand are always gonna show respect and be like, no, we know what they're gonna bring. They are world champions. You can never be sure, etc., etc. But the reality of the situation is that at the moment, we're not world champions. We're not playing. That team is in 2019, you know. The last time we saw the world champions was against the British and Irish Lions, you know. Ever since, they've been missing.
Yeah, I think that's where we'll leave it for today. I don't have you wrapped it up nicely. I don't have anything else to say. Any closing remarks, Chris?
No, I'm done. I have a sip of my beer.
Me too. Cheers. That was Switch Pod. Out.
Let's go this.